Tell me a little bit about the message you wanted to communicate to the audience in there, because I didn't get to hear it. So tell me a little bit about what your overall theme there was.
In essence, the Bible says the truth sets you free. And if you're not operating in truth, then you're operating in falsehood. And the problem with that is when you don't know what the truth is, you're subject to make inaccurate, inerrant decisions. And when you make an inaccurate decision, then that puts you in a position of putting a lie in a position of what should be truth. America is founded on the concept that every individual has a right to vote his conscience. It is to set aside the haves and the have-nots and to break down the wall between the two. And unfortunately, we've gotten to the point in America again where we're back to what really contradicts the Founding Fathers' vision of one nation under God.
Tell me a little bit politically how frustrating this has been within the black community to see the Democrats and a lot of the liberal philosophies and policies affect the black community in such an adverse way, and yet they continue to vote for Democrats.
Well, unfortunately, they have not learned from history. When you don't know what the truth is, and if you believe a lie, you're doomed to repeat this. And what happened is the African American community has switched from 80-90% vote of Republicans to where they are now voting 90 to almost 95% of Democrat, simply because they have been brainwashed by a leftist-leaning media that says Republicans are racist, Democrats are in your corner. The truth of the matter is all of the civil rights legislation, from the amendments to the Constitution, all the way down to the 1964-1965 Civil Rights Act, were all passed by Republican majorities. And this includes 4 civil rights bills in the 1800s, which were set aside by the Democrats once they came to power. So unfortunately, African Americans are voting not what the truth is, they're voting what they've been conditioned to believe by liberal media.
What's the answer? I mean, I know, not that we have all day to, well, I wish we had all day to discuss. What is the answer then, not just politically, but maybe even broadly, to kind of change hearts and minds on this issue and culturally and more significantly, this issue here?
The Bible says, when you know the truth sets you free. And one of the mistakes we have made, in my opinion, is that we have relegated the Bible to being a religious book. The Bible is not a religious book. In fact, there are 5 references to religion in the Bible, 5 religion or religious. And of those 5 references, 4 of them are negative. In other words, religion brings people to worship their concept of what God is like. If you want to know what somebody thinks God is like, look at his religion. But God said, this is the truth, and the truth will set you free. And here is what it is. If you just took one transcendent principle out of the Bible, treat the other person the way you want to be treated, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, that would solve 90% of the problems we're facing, racial, economic, and otherwise, in the United States of America. Just treat the other person the way you would want to be treated. If you don't want to be discriminated against, if you want somebody not to hire you because of certain, then that's the way you should do. And that's the problem. We've drifted away from that to where we have set aside, quote, biblical principles over here, and now we have these so-called liberal principles that we're operating under.
I know we're just humans, and God is an infinitely amazing God, way above us. And so, but here's the question: revival. How does it happen? How do we get to being put in a position for revival here on earth?
Well, if I knew the simple answer to that, I'd put Dr. Billy Graham to shame. The problem is, Pat and the 700 Club and programs like that teach Jesus Christ every day. The problem is we have conditioned people to believe that, again, that somehow the Bible is about religion and that Christianity is about religion, and it's not. It is not religion at all. It is how God intended for us to live. And if we lived just according to those principles, we'd almost have revival just based on living our lives according to the principles articulated in the scriptures.
Tell me a little bit about President Obama and what the view, what's your sense of President Obama in terms of why he got elected maybe in the first place by a lot of, let's be honest, a lot of African American conservatives voted for Barack Obama. There were quite a few who decided, well, I got my conservative principles, but I also want to see history made.
Yes.
And so how do you, take me through that psychologically and how that manifests and what happens there.
Well, one of the reasons that, in my opinion, that President Obama got elected was because whites wanted to prove that they were not racist as they had been, or pointed out to be. All whites are racist, and whites said, "I'm not racist." So many of them voted against their principles to prove that they were not racist by voting for a man about whom they knew almost nothing, because the media covered up, anything about his background. Nobody knew anything about Barack Obama. Here's a man who never had a job, never had a real job, never ran even a small business, and now he's in charge of the greatest economy, the greatest country on the face of the earth. And blacks voted for him, of course, because he was black. Many of them who disagreed with him voted because he was black. But the problem was, many whites went against their deeply ingrained cultural, and I don't want to use that word cultural, their deeply ingrained philosophical positions to vote for him just to prove that they were not racist. And I think that's a problem that we have in America. That was the problem that led to the election of President Barack Obama.
If you had a African-American teenager sitting right in front of you, let's say watching this interview right now, what's your message to that kid who you want to see have a better life? You want to see be successful, but you have a lot of folks that, from a liberal perspective, ready with the free handout. Not just to him, but to many others. What do you say to kids like that who have kind of grown up to a degree in this free handout environment?
That you have to understand that God created every human being equal. In fact, there are no differences in God's view of humanity. Every single human being in God's eyesight is exactly the same, incalculably valuable to God. It's up to us to utilize what we have been given by God to improve our status in this life. One of the things that America does is it gives people a chance to maximize the gifts and talents they've been given. You can't find that in India, China, Africa. That doesn't exist. But here in America, you have the opportunity to be almost anything you want to be, even President of the United States. So we have opportunities unparalleled, unmatched anywhere else in the world here in the United States of America. So any teenager, black or white, it's up to them to maximize the opportunities given them. Unfortunately, what they're getting in school today is far from being the truth, and therefore they are, I hesitate to use the term, but brainwashed into believing something about America that just isn't true.
Thank you, sir.